My family skipped my wedding, saying they mixed up the date. But that same evening, I spotted their photos in the front row at my brother's golf tournament. I stayed silent. A week later, Dad called asking for a favor. I shut him down mid-sentence. By dawn, Mom was blowing up my phone. I stood there in my wedding dress, looking out at a room full of people and trying to focus on the good. My friends were there. My husband's family had flown in from 3 different states. Even my old college roommate, who I hadn't seen since 2018, made it. The food was perfect. The music was better than we planned. Everyone looked happy, smiling, clapping, except the entire front row was empty. Not a single member of my family had shown up. Not my mom, not my dad, not Derek. People noticed. Of course they did. The whispers started during the ceremony. I heard my maid of honor tell someone that there must have been a delay, maybe a canceled flight or a health scare. Everyone wanted a reason, but I didn't say anything. I just smiled, said nothing, and married the man I love with a whole row of empty chairs staring back at me like a joke. The ceremony ended. We took photos. I gave a speech. Everyone laughed and cried and danced like it was the best night of my life. And somehow, even with that gaping hole in the guest list, it still was. It was only after midnight in the hotel suite with my hair down and my phone back in my hand that I found out the truth. Derek's face popped up on my cousin's Instagram story. I almost scrolled past it, but then I looked closer. He was standing beside a huge printed banner. Derek Williams Invitational Junior Golf Finals. Front row seats, big smiles, country club patio, and right there next to him, my mom and dad. They didn't miss the wedding. They skipped it on purpose for a golf tournament. No apology, no text, not even a fake excuse, just a grainy photo on someone's story that vanished the next morning like it never happened. I stared at the screen for a while and handed it to my husband. He looked at it, looked at me, and didn't say anything. I think he knew better. I just powered off my phone and went to bed. The thing is, this wasn't just a petty family snub. This was something building for years. The first fight came when I told them I didn't want to get married at the country club. That's where they got married. That's where Derek won all his little trophies. It was the family place. My mom said it was disrespectful. My dad said it was tradition. Derek rolled his eyes and called my venue some wine shack in the woods. It was a vineyard an hour outside the city. Beautiful, quiet, and completely paid for by me. They hated it. When I didn't change the venue, they stopped answering my messages. My mom backed out of dress shopping. My dad said he wouldn't walk me down the aisle if it's going to be in the dirt. Derek told me I was selfish and ruining everything because I wouldn't think about the family for once. So, I cut them out. I stopped sending updates. I uninvited them from the planning group chat. I thought maybe, just maybe, they'd come around at the last minute, but they didn't. They made their choice. And here's the part no one knows. During those 2 months of silence, I was still paying their bills. I paid the mortgage on their house, the electric, the phone plan, my dad's truck repairs, and Derek's insurance. They didn't say thank you. They didn't even speak to me. But the money kept leaving my account like nothing had changed until the wedding. After that, I was done. A week later, exactly 7 days after the ceremony, my dad called. I didn't pick up. He sent a text that said, "Hey, can we talk? I could use your help with something." Not a single word about the wedding, not even a joke. Like it didn't happen. I stared at that message for a long time. I almost replied, almost. The next morning, my mom started calling. At first, it was just once, then twice. By noon, she called 15 times and left 2 voicemails. I didn't listen to them, but I knew what was coming. They didn't miss me. They needed me, and they had the nerve to ask for something. By the second full day of missed calls, I finally caved and checked the voicemails. Not because I wanted to hear from them. I didn't, but because I was curious how far they were willing to go to pretend nothing had happened. The first one was from my mom. Her voice was light, fake, cheerful, like she was calling to confirm brunch plans. She said she hoped the wedding went well, like she was asking about a dinner party I'd thrown. Then came the line that stopped me cold. "I guess we just got the date mixed up. You know how chaotic things have been, right?" They mixed up the date. That's why I sent printed invitations, emailed reminders, and a digital RSVP with the exact time and coordinates. I even remember helping her add the date to her phone calendar. She said she wanted to be reminded a week before. That never changed. There was no mix-up. She just didn't come. Then her tone shifted subtly. She said she'd been meaning to reach out because something's come up with Derek's birthday. He was turning 23 and had been going through a tough year. They wanted to make it special. Something about a party at the country club, of course, and a new custom driver he'd had his eye on. Limited edition, expensive. I could hear her trying to sound casual as she said it cost around $1,400, but even a portion would help. I just sat there listening to my mom talk about party planning like my wedding hadn't happened the week before, like she hadn't made the decision with my father and Derek to skip the most important day of my life. No explanation, no remorse, nothing. Then came voicemail number 2 from Derek. I almost deleted it without listening, but curiosity won. He didn't apologize, he didn't even pretend. He said something like, "Look, I know you're probably mad or whatever, but the tournament was booked months ago. It's not like I could have skipped it. It's a big deal." Then he said he hoped I wasn't going to make things awkward by ignoring mom and dad. He wrapped it up with, "Anyway, if you can help with the driver, that'd be cool. If not, whatever. No hard feelings. No hard feelings." That's when I knew they actually believed what they were saying. They believed they had a right to ask me for something after what they did. I'd paid my parents' mortgage for almost a year, covered their electric, gas, Wi-Fi. I'd paid Derek's insurance, helped with his tuition when he flunked out and wanted to try community college instead. I'd even covered my dad's root canal last winter. Never once complained, and now they were reaching out for more. Not to fix anything, not to make it right, just to get what they wanted. I didn't respond, not that day, not the next, and definitely not after my mom sent another message late Friday night. "We're going ahead with the party anyway. I know money's tight for us, but it's important. Derek's been through a lot. We'd still love for you to come. And if you're willing, maybe just the driver. That alone would mean the world to him. Still nothing about the wedding, not one word." I stared at that text for 10 minutes before putting my phone down. Then I picked it up and read it again. They wanted me to pay for a golf-themed birthday party for the golden boy they'd chosen over me. They expected me to show up, smile, and pretend that all that mattered was Derek turning 23. They had no idea who they were dealing with. 3 days later, I replied with a short message, saying I'd be there, and that I'd bring a gift. Just not the kind they were expecting. The moment I hit send, I already knew what I was going to do. It wasn't about revenge, not really. It was about truth, about refusing to let them twist the story into something more comfortable for everyone else. I wasn't going to yell or cry. I was going to show up, smile, and give them exactly what they asked for, just not in their way. I spent the next few days preparing, not for the party, my mom already had that under control, but for the gift. I withdrew $700 in cash, slipped it into a black envelope, and placed it inside a small silver gift bag. No note, no card, just the money. Enough to make them believe I'd rolled over once again. The party was Saturday evening at the same country club they'd once said wasn't appropriate for my wedding. Derek's face was plastered on signs near the entrance. I parked at the edge of the lot and sat for a few minutes, watching people in golf polos and cocktail dresses laugh and sip champagne as they walked in. I recognized some of them, family friends, neighbors, Derek's golf buddies. No one had texted me that day. No reminders, no questions. They probably assumed I wouldn't show, or maybe they were hoping I would, just to prove they still had control. I walked in as the music started. The DJ was spinning soft pop, and the buffet stretched along the far wall. My dad was at the bar, talking too loudly. My mom was rearranging gifts at the table. When she saw me, her face froze, then she smiled. I smiled back. Derek came over wearing a ridiculous golf crown. I handed him the silver bag. He looked surprised, then smug. He thought I'd caved. He didn't open it right away, just passed it to my mom, who placed it with the others. An hour passed, small talk, polite laughter, drinks. A few people asked about my wedding, apologized for missing it. No one mentioned why my family hadn't been there. Then came the toast. Derek gave a self-congratulatory speech about his growth this year, and my parents looked on like he'd just cured cancer. After the applause, my mom took the mic, thanked everyone, and to my surprise, invited me to speak. I hadn't planned to, but I walked up calmly, smiled, and said, "Hi, I'm Jane, Derek's sister." I thanked everyone for coming and said how nice it was to finally see some of the faces I missed on my big day, the one my family forgot to attend. The room went silent. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't cry. I told them I got married last week, that I'd invited my family, that they never showed, that they claimed to have mixed up the date, though somehow they were all front row at Derek's golf tournament that same day. I said I paid for my wedding myself, and that I'd been paying my parents' bills for the past year, including the car Derek drove to that tournament. Yet when it came time to show up for me, they didn't bother. I ended by saying I brought a gift, $700, half of what they asked for, enough to cover the driver. But the real gift was the truth. I handed back the mic and walked out. I didn't stay for cake or hugs. I got in my car and drove home. By the time I got there, my phone was exploding, angry voicemails, missed calls, messages from Derek, my mom, my dad. I ignored them all. For once, I'd said exactly what needed to be said. The calls didn't stop for days, Derek furious, my mom guilt-tripping, my dad texting, "You embarrassed us." I stayed silent. I thought that would be the end of it. But then, Wednesday afternoon, there was a knock on my door. It was my mom, sunglasses on like she was trying to avoid paparazzi. She walked in without waiting, said we needed to talk. She tried to smooth it over, said they didn't expect me to make a scene. I stayed quiet. Finally, she reached into her purse and pulled out a folded check, $700 from Derek. She said he didn't want my money, that he was humiliated, that one of his sponsors had dropped him, that people were avoiding them at the club. Then she told me something I didn't expect. My dad had lost his job 4 months ago. The money I'd been sending had been covering everything: mortgage, utilities, groceries, and the rest he'd wasted on sports betting. She found out only after the wedding, when the power nearly got shut off. She said they were drowning. Then she looked at me and asked softly, "Do you think there's any way back from this?" I didn't answer right away. I wanted to say no, that this was years of rot finally surfacing. Instead, I asked, "Did you really think I wouldn't say anything that night?" She looked tired and said they were counting on me staying quiet, like always. And when I didn't, when I finally told the truth, they didn't know how to come back from it. Before leaving, she said the country club had sent them a notice. Their membership was under review. Sponsors were cutting ties. People were uncomfortable. Not because of me, but because of them. Because the truth had finally caught up. She said she hoped someday I could forgive them. I told her I'd think about it. She left. I didn't cash the check. It's still in my drawer, next to my marriage license. One represents a beginning. The other I haven't decided yet. After my mom's surprise visit, everything went quiet. For the first time in months, there were no calls, no guilt trips, just silence, and I poured that piece into my life and marriage. Then 2 weeks later, Derek texted, "You're still invited if you want," about a small family dinner. I went not to make peace, but to show up on my own terms. The house was calm, simple. My dad said, "We were wrong, I'm sorry." For once, there were no excuses, no tension, just quiet understanding. They told me Derek had lost his sponsorship and was finally working, earning his own money. Before I left, I gave my dad a bottle of bourbon from the old days, and he asked me to come back for dinner. No favors, just family. I didn't go right away, but a week later they showed up at my door with groceries, ready to cook. It was awkward but real. We ate, talked honestly, and for the first time they listened. My dad said he'd stopped gambling and was getting help. Derek showed me his small savings, no more handouts. When they left, I told them they could come again next Friday. The next day, my mom sent a photo of my wedding picture framed on their shelf, just me and my husband. Derek texted that he'd added $75 more to his savings. I didn't reply. I didn't need to. Sometimes, when you stop asking your family to see you, they they finally do.